We're getting near the end of autumn now, and it's getting very cold. But in earlier videos I mentioned I'm a big fan of notebooks and pens and drawing and keeping records of what you see. And photography and video making isn't always good at this time of year. Like right now it's starting to rain. It can be difficult to take photos, and also your camera might not be particularly waterproof, as just depends on the model and the make, but it's not a good idea to get them wet anyway. But you can observe wildlife without actually bringing your camera with you. I mean, you can keep a camera handy or your phone or whatever, but it can be good just to have a notebook. And I usually do spend a little bit of money on the notebooks because I want them to stand the test of time. But also they can be good for drawing if you can find a good sheltered space, although it's harder this time of year because the canopies have gone bare, as you can see. But you can observe birds, and if you're dressed up properly and you have the right kind of gear on, you can actually have a look at birds. And you could be out in the rain, or you can have an umbrella. A lot of the time they'll come in to your garden anyway, because if you put food out or something. And in the next couple of days we're going to have a very severe cold snap, so winter will pretty much start. But what I like to do is, say, get out the notebook, and like if I'm observing, say, a bird, you don't have to be great, you don't have to be a brilliant illustrator or anything, but you can just, like, say, a blackbird like that. They have a particular way of sort of walking and keeping the tail out, and you can kind of watch them. And of course if it's a male, you'll have that big yellow ring and a bright beak. But like I say, you don't need to be a master illustrator or anything, but you can get the gist of the bird. And sometimes the camera won't actually bring up the details you notice on a bird, and it can be good to just illustrate it in case there's something about it a camera isn't showing up, because I have in the past shown experts birds that they dismissed as a certain species, and then they see a photo I might have, if I was lucky, a few days later or from another angle, which proved to them it was actually something quite different. And also it gives you a chance to notice the details. Blackbirds kind of have these big feet, and they have these very pointy tails. Often you can't make out the details because of the silhouette. They're usually foraging for leaves. Now we're getting a little bit of rain, but you can see it's not really going to affect. If you get a good pen, it won't be the end of the little excursion. And you can also stay indoors and look out your window, where taking photos through windows isn't very easy a lot of the time, especially in winter. But there's a blackbird doing what a blackbird does, which is foraging, moving around in the dark. So basically there's an awful lot of ways you can enjoy wildlife at this time of year, but it doesn't have to be wildlife. Like, it doesn't have to be animals, it can be the clouds, even the hills, the mountains. Winter is a very interesting time of year. It's different to summer in that you don't have so many creatures obviously flying around all the time, but if you put food out, you'll get birds, you may get mammals coming in. If it gets very cold, you could have all sorts of creatures coming into your garden looking for food, things you never dreamed of, possibly deer, or if you're in a place like, say, where there's a wild boar or something. We don't have them naturally in Ireland, but they have been reintroduced. But they were always here in the past, as were feral pigs, because people used to keep their pigs outside, keep them on the landscape, and which was good for the landscape. It was natural. So you never know what you might find. And it can be very exciting when you see some big animals actually come down near your home, and it can be really good to observe them if they get used to you. You can actually draw them, or and if you're lucky, you can get closer, get better at approaching them, and make videos or take photos. So even though it's winter, the days are short, the light is terrible, and basically sunrise is around 8 o'clock in December this latitude, and sunset is actually around 4ish or just after 4. So we have a very short day, but at the same time you can enjoy it and you can see lots of unusual things you wouldn't normally see. So get out the pen, get a good notebook. It doesn't even have to be a good notebook, but get a notebook or a sketch pad and learn to observe things. And you don't have to be Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci. You can do all sorts, like you can improve your drawing, but you can also just learn details. Why drawing? Because when you draw you start to think about things and what way they're arranged and behaviour. Sometimes it's just the movement or the shape. So consider that for gifts for Christmas.